It's like,
All right.
All right.
Well, surprise, surprise,
Surprise, surprise.
surprise. I know the millennials that's watching is probably like, what that?
That's
That's Goma
gone.
Powell. Google it. Google it,
Yep,
y'all. Google it. That's Goma Powell.
I sure is.
Oh gosh. All right. So we are here with y'all tonight. Carlos and Catherine. I don't know what they was thinking about when they decided to leave us two couples
In
out
charge
here.
for
We got no
Time
chaperones,
Tuesday.
y'all. We ain't got
It's
no chaperones.
Time
We just
Tuesday.
all unattended. But today is
Timeless
Timeless
Tuesday.
Tuesday. And y'all know what happens on Timeless Tuesday. We do our popcorn conversation where we talk about those conversations that can come up in a marriage. And what we do is we tackle them one pop at a time. All right. So last week we had a super discussion. I mean, that thing was on and popping last week, but we were talking about them non-negotiables.
Yeah, that's
We
right.
had a lot of folks that had tuned in last week and they were coming on with a lot of their non-negotiables. Some of the stuff we hadn't really thought about before, but it was amazing.
Yeah.
So tonight we got Pastors Alvin and Victoria Parker back with us again here
Give it
tonight
up, give it up, give it up. Yes.
from the True Word Christian Center. Did I get it
Yeah.
right? Yes, True
Yes.
Word Christian Center.
Tennessee.
They out there in Tennessee, y'all. That's where they at. They out there in Tennessee.
Moonshine country.
And we are Calvin and Jocelyn Jones. We are repping Black Diamond Marriages out here in the Northern Virginia area. Whoop, whoop. And of course, we got the fantabulous, the Green Machine. We call them the Green Machine, Carlos and Catherine. They are not here right now. Hopefully, they'll be with us at some point.
Are you gonna let them in?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have to see. Giving me the key. They done messed up by giving me the key.
Yes.
So tonight, the conversation we will be having tonight is how do we choose our friends as a couple, or how do we choose our community? All right. So before we get started into how we choose our friends or our community, let's define what a community is. So, what exactly is a community?
Mm-hmm.
What do y'all consider a community?
Go ahead, sweetie.
Oh.
I'm gonna look it up.
He said, oh, he's well,
He's looking it up. Oh,
the-
you know what? Hold up. Before we get started on that, y'all got that Power Couples Rock game.
We sure do. So for those of you out there are some products out there that we want to encourage you to purchase from Power Couples Rock. We've got the Power Couples Rock game that you could use as a couple or as have a fun game night out. This is available to you. Some really fun game that you might want to do with your family, your friends, whomever, or maybe even in your ministry. You can go to powercouplesrock.com to make that purchase. The other thing that they have is the love pack. And we use that love pack as well. It gives you instructions on what you need to do. There's a little booklet that tells you what you need to do. And these cute little love pack cards, some that say for him and for her. And so this is an opportunity for you to just write a little message to your sweetie, maybe put it in his lunchbox, put it on his pillow, just to let you know you're thinking about him. So you want to take advantage of these items that they have out there ready for you to use. Again, go to powercouplesrock.com. Grab you some of these today. All right, let's get into that question again.
I got one question. Is that lunchbox metal or what? You said put in this lunchbox. Is it metal?
Well, it would really be him putting it in my lunchbox because I'm the one with a lunchbox, not him. So I had to leave it on his office desk or leave it on his pillow. So we had to put a disclaimer out there.
we had to put a disclaimer out there. Those little love pack cards, they are not for to-do lists. So you can't use that to make a honey-do list. You can't use that to be like, boo, swing by and pick up some spaghetti sauce and some noodles.
Exactly.
That's not what it's for.
That's not what it's for. It's to give
for you to remind your boo how much you love and think about your boo.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, so let's reverse it back and let's start talking about this community here. All right.
If you're out there watching live, let us know. Put your name in the comments. Listen up. Give us
drop us a little line.
Have a
saying,
little
hey, we here
in the world, in the live world. All right, so let's talk about this community. How do you?
What you got, Pastor Alvin?
How do you choose your community? We're going to define community first. What does it say a community is?
Community, according to Webster's, is a unified body of individuals, people with common interests living in a particular area, or a group of people with a common characteristic. It's people who like the same stuff, people who have the same goals, people who are striving for the same things. That's what I gather from Webster's definition of it.
And when we first got married, our community really came from our local church. And what we started doing was just identifying people in our local church that, like he said, had similar, well, not even I said, they were just married folks, married people just trying to make it happen, make it work. And so because we were all sitting in the same local church, hearing the same messages, that was kind of the thing that we had in common until we all started like meeting, having potlucks, having conversations. And then that helped develop the relationships to where we could see and recognize the things that we had in common. Then sometimes that comes from going to marriage conferences or, having like-minded friends, like having the Greens as friends and meeting the Joneses. Yeah. We've been saying, man, we can go on vacation with the Joneses and never even knew the Joneses until we started doing popcorn conversations. So that's where our community started. We normally always look for our community within our local church first.
Yeah. So I know for us, for the first couple of years of our marriage, we didn't have a community. We kind of stayed to ourselves a little bit because we was like, we don't want nobody in our business. Right. Everybody don't need to know what we dealing with. Everybody don't need to know what's going on. So we was, it was just us. And even though we would, hang out with other people or things like that, we still were kind of standoffish. A little bit, because we didn't really understand the importance of it. We were so much in survival and protect mode when we first got married that we didn't even consider those types of things. Wasn't until, maybe about 5 years ago, we started really thinking, okay, we need some folks that we can actually trust, because one thing a community is a gossip group.
That's right. Exactly.
So if you find yourself with people and all they want to do is talk about other people and make fun of other people and tell you the latest and greatest, tea on this one or that one, that's not community. Exactly. That's not community. That's a gossip group. And so we knew that's not what we wanted to be a part of. And we hadn't really found a true community at that time. But I can say now, we do. We have friends, but we also have now an actual community that if something was to go down in our marriage, we have a community of people that we know we could say, hey, this was going on. We really need y'all to be praying for us and with us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we got a couple more people that jumped on. So just to let everybody know that that the Alvin and Victoria and the Joneses, we took over popcorn conversation tonight. So we running this thing the best way we can. We're probably not as good as the Greens, but we're gonna do what we do. So they may jump on a little bit later, but until then, you got us.
Yeah, that's
welcome
right.
Welcome to Popcorn Conversation.
And our question today, Ms. Jocelyn, would you remind the community of what the question is?
We are talking about how do we choose our friends as a couple? How do we choose our community? And one thing that I looked up was why is building a community as a couple even important? Like, so what, you got friends, as who cares? Like, why is it even important for you to have that? And so what we found is that when you are part of building a supportive community, it significantly protects your marriage because it
Mhm.
provides external validation, it
Mhm.
fosters shared values, and it offers a sense of accountability. And
Mhm.
all of those things mixed together can then help us as we navigate through our challenges and the pressures of married life.
Mhm.
So, when we're talking about external validation and accountability, it says that a supportive community can provide a framework for what is considered normal and acceptable behavior within a marriage. So, again, this is why it's key that you hook up with the right folks,
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
because your community is what is going to be used to help establish normal
Mhm.
and accepted behaviors.
Mhm.
So you don't want to have no community where it's okay for Sally to come over and be sitting in my husband's lap. No,
Yeah,
we're
no,
not doing
that's not
that.
community.
We're
That could
not
turn,
doing that.
yeah, that
Right.
could turn into something bad. That's one of the
Exactly.
things I share with people a lot is that having that community, we've always told people we learn how to be married in the local church. And if it wasn't for meeting people like Carlos and Catherine in the local church, I really don't know where we would be, because I told people, I said, you need to have folks around you who have strong marriages, not perfect marriages,
Mm-hmm.
but
Right.
strong marriages,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who are striving to live in a marriage the way God designed it. And what that does is it strengthens you. Because I tell people, even the dumb stuff I did, somebody did it with me and someone showed me how to do it. And
Mm,
in Hebrews chapter 6, 23 through 25, it says, let us hold the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised, and let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. Another word for that word provoke could be encourage one another,
mm,
Mm-hmm.
because we were never meant to do it alone. And so many
mm-hmm.
people try to. And I can remember in those potlucks, in those conversations, especially Victoria and I, when we first got married, we were figuring out how to live together. And sometimes you can feel like, man, did we make the right move here? And then we would have those conversations around what was being preached at church. And we realized, oh, we ain't crazy. We just learning how to live together.
Right.
Because somebody else was talking about how they were making adjustments.
Right.
And so people were further along than you. So you were able to say, hey, man, if we stick this out, this is what we got to look forward to. So
Right.
that having that has been really great.
I think one of the key things he just said is, in marriage, you're not meant to do that alone. And like
Right.
you said, Jocelyn, earlier, you just trying to keep everything together, keep everything isolated, and we shouldn't be doing it alone. That's what the
Right.
importance of having that community from your local church is, so that you can have these conversations. You can have people that you can share and talk things through, or even just some of the silly things that you may have them heated fellowships over. And then you realize, man, we're not the only one arguing about the trash. We're not the only one arguing about picking up, or having those discussions.
Mhm.
And it helps you to understand that you're not in this alone, and to understand that these are the types of things that you do. You grew up in two different households.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
My mom did things, and the way his mom did things were two different ways. And so now you got these two cultures you're trying to blend together to make it work. And then having other people to have those same conversations, like, what, y'all not crazy. We had those same conversations.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Mm-mm.
No, to you guys, when you said y'all were in survival mode when you were first married, and then you started to say, okay, we need to work on community. What opened you guys up to that? Because I can understand being protective of your marriage and you not want to, because people don't handle information well sometimes, and you got to be careful who you let things out to. So how did you guys get to that point where you started to open up some to a community? Because I can understand people feeling that way, kind of closed in and say, wait a minute, I don't know these people, what's going on? So can you share some of the steps that help you guys move towards saying, hey, let's plug it into a community?
Mhm.
So for me, it became a thing of trust. When we first got married, there were so many people that knew each other, and they knew people from our past, and so we were being very strategic and careful about that because we didn't want that to become the take back church
Mhm.
type
Gotcha.
of people.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
So once we started meeting different people in different um, that really had no connections with our true past,
Okay.
um, that's where we started, building that community and trusting. And then we just started sitting down and talking to people. You know how when you first meet somebody, you'll say, something's not right, or yeah, we need to connect.
Right.
Like prime example, like Carlos and Catherine. We were at UCPia 1000 live rather, and we ended up connecting with them on the very last day just because. And going into it, Jocelyn and I, we kept saying something different about that couple, something different. Out of all the people that were there, they really stuck out to us, and we hadn't met them at all. And then the last day, just so happened, we ended up having like shirts on, and Jocelyn made a point to him. I point to Carlos, and it got down there. Then we found out that tennis. We found out tennis, and that's how it started building our community with
Yeah.
them. Is
Yeah.
because when you start talking like-minded, it's not just in the spiritual realm, which is very,
Right.
very important. It's also in the natural realm. What
Come.
do you all have in common? Do y'all, do the couples, y'all just like to go out and eat, go out and play golf, go out and play tennis, whatever it may be, or just go to movies, go on vacation together, or whatever. That's how we started building our community, and that's how. And things got lighter. We were freer, even in the financial realm.
Yeah.
We were freer in building that community there. We built a community because God spoke to us and say, "Hey, go bless this couple."
Wow.
And take this couple on vacation. And we didn't really have a relationship with them before then, but after we said, "Hey, God told us to bless you,"
Right.
and
Wow.
that's how we build in our community.
Yeah. Because when we first got married, there were more people that were against us than there were for us.
Gotcha.
So we had a lot of people that were literally waiting for us to fail. I know at one point, someone came to me and said, I don't know if you know this or not, but there's a betting pool going on with how long you and Calvin gonna stay together.
And these were people in the church.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yes. So it was like,
Wow.
okay. So again, that was why we were more in like protect mode and we kind of
I can
stayed to
understand.
ourselves. And there were people that knew us and knew about us, but nobody really like tried to hang out with us. We were kind of isolated. So it wasn't like we were getting invited to stuff. We wouldn't get other couples would get together and hang out, but we only got invited to stuff when it was like a gift or money or something was involved. It was like, oh yeah, put them on the list because they're gonna
Yeah,
give
they
you
give
they're gonna
good
give you
gifts.
$50. So one of the things that Dr. Arnold, who is our cousin, he really honed in with us like the importance of community and things like that. And so we had seen what he was doing and we were like, okay, that's cool, but that's not for everybody. That's not for us. So it wasn't until when we were in Australia and it was just he and I, and that was when he and I got closer together. But that was also when we realized, you know what, we really need people that are like us, that we can just be free to be ourselves with and around in a protected environment, a safe environment. So yeah, that's pretty much how it started for us. We had someone that post on here. What about never having a community because the community has isolated you?
We were just going to pull that up, and I would like to answer that because I can understand feeling isolated by people. And one of the biggest things, the enemy uses offense and hurt feelings to drive people away from the local church. In Ephesians chapter 4, it talks about every joint brings a supply.
Right.
In a community, everyone, I tell our church all the time, I said, never underestimate your presence in a seat and what that does for someone, because everybody's overcoming challenges to be around other people.
Yeah.
And the devil works overtime in people's thinking to make people feel like somebody's thinking about them, thinking negatively about them when they're not. And so having a community is very important. And I would say you would have to work past your feelings. You'll have to forgive people to enter into a community and not make the present people who are in the community pay for the people who hurt you in the past.
Yeah.
Because if you hold on to that, you could be missing out on wonderful things that a community, a local church can bring you. Because we've had some things happen to us in the local church where I wanted to go in the parking lot and go
lay his hands on some people.
Yeah.
Take them earrings off.
And if we gave you the details, we wanted y'all still in church. But I learned from the scriptures that, okay, God, we got to let this, I have to forgive you, forgive them just like you forgave me. And it kept us open, like developing relationships we have now, meeting you guys, other people. If we stayed closed off, we would miss out on a supply that God uses other people to bring to us. So I would say to Cherie, I think that's how your name is said.
Yes.
Learn how to forgive, and you have the power to forgive according to Philippians 2:13 and Romans 5:5, because that love is in you. To let God show you how to let things go so you can enter into a community. Because if you talk to enough people in the community, you'll find out they felt the same way before they entered into a community.
And
we actually
go ahead. That particular community is not your community.
That's right.
So don't get in your feelings or get into offense about it. Just accept the fact that, hey, maybe this isn't my community, and God will lead you to the correct community. I tell people all the time, don't go where you're tolerated. Go where you're celebrated.
Right, where you're wanted.
Let them go.
Catherine all up in here.
What's happening? What's happening?
What y'all doing on this live show?
We have a popcorn conversations, girl.
We got things to do.
Everything.
Yeah.
We having a conversation now.
Y'all need to be quiet.
Y'all
need to be quiet. We're in the middle of conversation.
Okay. Y'all go right ahead. We gonna see where we can join in.
Right.
Is it all right?
So
what we did as well.
Cherie, I'm sorry.
Go
ahead.
Let Carlos and Kathy hear Cherie's question.
So we had a question. What about never having a community because the community isolated you? And so one of the things that we are telling the person is, hey, you can move on and forgive the person, and maybe that community that you're trying to connect with is not your community, and that you need to move on to let God help you find the community that you belong to. The other thing is, don't be involved in, don't go where people are tolerating you. Go where you don't want to be somewhere where somebody tolerating you. That's not going to make for a good environment. Go where it's celebrated, where people want to engage you. Somebody's got something
in the background.
Y'all get it? Y'all can hear that?
Yeah, we can hear that real good.
Well, what's that doing?
That real good.
So why are we getting the distraction over with? We're gonna so my answer, I think we should choose our community very carefully. and choosing those people in your community, you need to definitely be led by God
Yeah.
and by the Spirit, and to really, everyone is in your life everybody's in your life for a season. So to kind of piggyback on the responses to Cherie, is that if you so happen to get in a community and you feel isolated, maybe God is telling you it's time to leave that community and move on to and find someone and ask God to lead you to a better community. That's sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes that's even in the church.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're not saying church hop, but you got to go in the community where you being fed and where you can feed. And if you can't do when you can't do either or one of those, I said that wrong. If you can't do either one of those or both of those, you just really need to really seek God and be be patient and not respond or do things in a hastily manner. Because when we get into ourselves, we're going to screw it up.
Yeah.
So really choosing that community and knowing that it's strong.
Yeah, because that's what we did. Our prayer became, Lord, put the people around us that will help us reach the destiny and the purpose that you have set for us.
That's awesome.
And once we prayed that, and we prayed it like with sincerity, and we were open to accept whatever that looked like, because it might not look like who you think it's going to look like. That's when the Lord really started to put people into our lives, and we were just like, wow, we would have never thought this is somebody we would have hung out with, and it's really been a blessing to us and to our marriage, and really it has helped us to even reach another level in the Lord, because now we see, like, okay, if God can do these things for them, he can do them for us. So it builds up our faith to be able to see how God uses other couples and the things that he does in the lives of other couples.
I love it. I know that we've moved like to 4 or 5 different places, and our prayer had always been, Lord, surround us with couples of like values, couples who love the Lord, and couples that we can do life with. And he's always delivered above and beyond anything that we could have ever asked or imagined. And even those couples that once we left that other city, we still maintain strong relationships with those couples because they were all God ordained. So like with Alvin and Victoria, they were in our first couples group that we have. And so it's been 20 plus years and we're still connected with one another. Now, a lot of the couples that we were with, we just did, not that they weren't bad or anything like that, but it's just, there are certain couples that you just connect with. And you might not ever see them for like 3 years or whatever, but you can still catch up. It's like, oh my God, we've been together. We haven't been together in 3 years, but it's like we've been together for 3 years because it's just that connected. So Cherie, thank you for that question, because it is so important that we find, Catherine and I find so many couples that don't have community, but I know that they're craving community. And I know if your heart desires community, God will deliver that community to you.
Yeah. May I add something real quick on this one? Proverbs talks about showing yourself friendly. And sometimes isolation is self-inflicted. I'm not saying that about you, Cherie, but I would see people do this from pastoring all this time. Like, I don't have any friends in the church. I don't meet, but you come into church right before it's time to start, and then you leave immediately after church is over, like your hair's on. So there's no opportunity to meet people if you're not making yourself available for someone to even say hi to you. So I would encourage anybody out there that's feeling isolated. I'm not saying you're the blame, but I am saying make sure you're intentional of making yourself available for some small talk. to engage with people,
Mm.
outside your comfort zone, to be open to say more than just, hey, how you doing? And actually talk, because that's how you meet people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
To
I was guilty of that. I was guilty of that because
Wow.
Calvin he is like 195% extrovert.
No, I'm not really.
95%.
Like he loves people. He loves being around people. He loves being in the mix.
Mm.
I am a highly functioning introvert. If I'm in a group, I can roll with you, but after a while, I'm like, okay, y'all getting on my nerves. I got to go. I love you. But I got to go. And I'm time by myself.
I've got enough. It's time to go.
Yep. So sometimes I would intentionally just get that mean mug, like, like that don't select me for jury duty face. Because I did not want to be bothered. I did, and somebody said to me one time, they were like, well, I wanted to be your friend, but I didn't know how to take you. And I was like, good, because I didn't, at that time, I would tell people, I don't want no more friends.
Wow.
I don't want no more friends. I don't need no more
Oh,
friends. Because
what?
I saw more friends as more drama, more
Mm.
issues.
Mm.
So I was like,
Mm.
I don't want to be bothered with that.
So I got a question though. We who have overcome and
Mm.
and we know what community is all about, and we run into a couple that's kind of sitting back in the corner, being shy. How do we embrace them to join a community and just to make them feel comfortable? And
Without freaking them out.
yeah,
offer them an opportunity.
Without seeming overbearing.
Right.
I would say offer them an opportunity and check their response. It's like sharing the gospel, is finding those soft entries to conversation and watching them and watching their response. As if they're reaching for it, give them a little bit more. I did it in Costco yesterday, talking to a guy. He seemed to be open, and as Jocelyn say, the scripture starts spitting out like watermelon seeds. And the guy, by the time we finished, Victoria's like, Alvin, you got to let the guy go to work. But he was drawing on the conversation, and I was just feeding him more. And by the time the conversation ended, he said, I got your number. Can I call you?
Yeah,
I
do you
said,
mind if I use your number to call you to ask you some more questions?
I was like, sure.
Yeah.
So I think questions, soft entry with
Mm.
and see how they're responding to them. And if they're not responding, back out.
Mm.
Yeah, right.
Environments where people are kind of off to themselves, a simple going over and saying, hey, how you doing? I've seen this at conferences, at events. I'll see somebody by themselves. I may go over and just speak to them, ask them, how did you come to this place, or what made you come here, or find out where they're from, and just have small talk conversations before you get into that. Because the more you have the small talks, the more they open up. And when they open up, that's when you can kind of find out, where they're going to church, the community of people that they're hanging out with, things like that. And the Holy Ghost just give you wisdom on the direction to go in those conversations.
Mhm. I agree with you. Yes, Victoria, I definitely agree with you on that. I have found myself in situations where I just usually have kind of just watched the room or see who's in conversation or who's isolated by themselves. And I just kind of make small talk. I'm very, very in tune if somebody's pulled to the side. And I don't know, I'm not sure why I'm so drawn to that. And maybe because naturally my tendency is I'm a little bit more introverted. And I know some people may not think I'm introverted
I wouldn't have
because
thought that.
Yep.
I really, my natural tendency is that way.
Yep.
But when I've gotten the rest I needed, or if there's not like, if it's like back to back to back to back, just like people just like constantly over me, it can be overwhelming, and I need time to
Okay.
rejuvenate.
Gotcha.
And so I'm very in tune and very keen on seeing the room and who's not, made any connection. And I
Yeah.
think that's crucial.
And even with that though, we still have to use the gift of discernment and be led by the Lord, because some people might not be ready to receive yet. Because I know for me, those times where I would pull back and I would be sitting by myself, I ain't want nobody to come and say anything to me.
Mhm.
And if you do come and say something to me, I'm gonna be like, you can go back over there with your friends,
Mhm.
because I'm fine.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't in a space to receive that yet. So even with that, we have to make sure that we are allowing the spirit of discernment to lead us and guide us, and
Mhm.
as to, okay, now go over, this person needs to be approached, this person is ready to be approached, and not just be like, hey, what you doing sitting over here by yourself, come on, because then you mess around, you get embarrassed,
I got to tell
people
us,
that don't know
Miss
where people
Johnson.
at.
We can have
So, John, I do have a question for you. So, would you say that you would have that type of response if you were in a space where there should be community type conversation?
Where I would have had that type of response.
Uh-huh. Because you
Oh
were
yeah.
saying having this discernment, and I was more thinking of the spot of, okay, you're in an environment to where you can develop community. So it's like, if you don't really want to be in a community frame of mind, why would you be in that space? I would
because
appreciate that space.
because you could be there to be with your spouse, to support, be there with your spouse. So like I was saying, Calvin loves people. That's his energy. He loves being around people. That's where he thrives,
Yeah.
is in being around people like that all the time. But for me, I'm a lot like Catherine. Like, after a while, and he even knows now, like, I can't do crowds. I don't do a lot of concerts and things like that, because I can't do people all up on me and all around me. Um, but I'm an introvert by nature, so my preference is to do things on my own, by myself, small group, if possible. But yes, I have been like that, because I'll be somewhere with him, community around, and be with him, and he's out talking to people. I'm over to the side, and somebody come and talk to me, I just be like, I'm good, thank you, I'm fine. You can go back
So,
over
but
there.
I think that's somewhat different in being
How so?
in a, I think it's somewhat different than being in a community as opposed to being in an event, because a lot of times so
Oh,
when we're in an
yeah.
event, she may become like that, but when we have our community,
it's different.
um, it's more intimate.
Gotcha.
Right, as long as it's more
It's
intimate.
it's more intimate, and so
Okay.
she takes the show when it's intimate. I just sit back and start laughing.
Yeah.
And I was
Right. I think for me, when I'm inviting anybody into the community, it's important that I get to know them and we just spend time with them themselves to really discern what it is that they're looking for. And if they're in a space where community is going to be appropriate for them at this point, needing to understand their story, needing to understand where they are in their marriage, and if they're in a very challenging or difficult space at this point, it may not be best to introduce them to a community just yet. It may be best that how do we actually come alongside of you or give you support tools, resources that can help you, that can help strengthen your marriage. And then once you get in a better space, then we can start introducing you into a community where you can continue to grow and develop and understand that you're not going through this alone. So I just, even though I may be way out there, but I'm still very intentional about uh, inviting people into spaces from community standpoint if they're not really ready yet.
Mhm.
That's good.
Okay. Okay.
That's a great point.
I have a two-part question.
Yes.
What are the benefits
Mm.
you all have experienced from community, and what is the goal of community, or should there be a goal of community? So, what are the benefits some of us have experienced from community? What's the goal? What's the purpose of community? Because people will throw things around like that, but they never know what the purpose of it is,
Right.
or what they should be even what's the benefit. Because I'm always thinking, okay, what's the benefit? Because if I'm going to spend time in this, is there a benefit? Is there a benefit? So that's my two.
Mhm.
That's a great question. Who's gonna take that one? I've
Well,
got.
we talked about ours. We talked about ours earlier. How we talked
Yeah.
about for us the benefits that we found since we've been, more connected to community. That how it has helped to strengthen our marriage,
Mhm.
because we have other people that are holding us accountable. We also talked about how it has even strengthened our faith and trust in God when we see how God is moving in the lives of other people. As far as the goal of it, I think for us, our goal was to, because we've always heard, don't hang around people who are where you are, hang around people who are where you want to be.
Mhm.
Mm.
So when we heard that, we became more intentional with who we were around. You
Mhm.
know, they always say birds of a feather flock together. Well, we picked up our feathers and we take our feathers to where we want to be a part of the flock.
Gotcha.
I think a
Mhm.
lot of times, unless you're sitting in a professional arena type of community, like I'll just be a little bit open about this. So like when we met Catherine and Carlos, they helped us. Our purpose in our community at that particular time was to help us to launch Black Diamond Marriages.
Gotcha.
So that started that community. That was the goal. Those were the objectives in that regard.
Mhm.
But also within that community, we have conversation that has nothing to do with Black Diamond Marriages. It's just whatever. So a lot of times, I always like to answer those type questions.
Mhm.
Um, Alvin, is it depends.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's
It
fair.
really depends on, how you want to come into it. Do you want to just come into it and just, hey, man, let's just establish a community. You come over our house and eat dinner. And I think a lot of times we don't want to come in. We have to be careful of coming into a community with set expectations,
Mhm.
because we don't want to put, sometimes you don't want to put parameters on how God can move. So if we come in with set expectations,
Unspoken expectations.
unspoken expectations,
Mhm.
you kind of limit where the direction you may be able to go,
Mhm.
um, with that. So I'm not saying you shouldn't, but we have to be
Mhm.
careful and be led also.
Yeah, I think that for us, and Carlos may have talked a little bit about the benefits, but from us moving from state to state, and we didn't have family in the state, one of the states we moved to.
Mhm.
And when we found community, and I do believe God, because we're seeking his face on so many things,
Mhm.
he's
Right.
placing those people in our lives that we need, that whatever we need each other. And
Mhm.
we just felt like community and doing life with other couples,
Mhm.
particularly because that was really our prayer about, particular having couples that we can surround ourselves around. That was our prayer. And that community of couples that we had have been around, they've just been life-giving in some areas. Some of the couples didn't stay together,
Right.
but we didn't treat them any different. We still lived our life, our marriage, the way God has called our covenant to be alive.
Mhm.
And but it was such a time as it was in Cincinnati and then to Georgia. Those couples, they added value to
Mhm.
our life. And if a couple maybe had a little bit more drama, it wasn't that we kicked them out. It's just that we helped them navigate. what that would look like. And maybe we didn't spend as much time
Right.
because you need to give too. You can't
Right.
just be taking. You just can't be sucking it all the time. You got to be able to give. And that was just important. So I found a lot of benefits in it, and I found like I can talk to. There's always, I believe God just gravitates me to someone, because when you're in leadership, you got to find those communities where you can be vulnerable, where you're not judged, that you're not criticized, that you're just like, can I just be real with you, where how I'm feeling, what I'm going through? They will pray with you, but they will also listen to your heart. And that's just that's very critical, and it's been, I think, very beneficial for me and Carlos. Yeah.
I think for me, when you talk about the benefits and the goal, Alvin, for me, I always see the community that we do life with as a church community. Like, don't, what is it? Don't neglect or don't forget the assembly of the saints, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he was reading earlier.
Right. So I don't want it to be, so I want it to be where the Holy Spirit in Christ is engaged in our community.
Gotcha.
And that is, even though no one's up there preaching, we don't have a praise and worship team going on, but the Holy Spirit is really working within our community. And so for me, that is like goal, is to how can we make sure that Christ is represented even outside of the walls of the church? We go to the local church so that we can get what we need in order so that we can be a witness for him out there. But when we get out there, we've got other couples that we should be
discipling.
Discipling, and not only discipling, but we should be doing life with, because we're all part of the church, but we all go to different churches. But I feel like even here, this is church to me. This is life-giving for me, because the word is going forth, the Holy Spirit is speaking. We're getting closer and closer, and we're getting better and better, or gooder and gooder. Because we're around you all,
right?
And you all are forcing us, or moving us, elevating us to that next level.
Yeah,
Carlos, I think something that you just said a minute ago is about discipling, and not because some people will think that they can't get involved in a community because that group is kind of cliquish, but at the same time, it's like you're protecting the community because you need to get to know that person. To see, because what you don't want is to have a community and you all moving in a direction of encouraging each other, and then you got somebody that hasn't matured enough yet, and they come in and all they're doing is complaining about stuff, or it's always about something that's not right, or something that happened to them and things of that nature, when what we're trying to do is we're trying to uplift each other. We're trying to help each other to see the word is the answer. And as much as people don't want to believe it, the word is enough for every situation in your life. And so we keep reminding each other of that, and not sitting around listening to a bunch of pity parties all the time. It's like, okay, baby, shake it off. This is what the word has to say about it, and this is how you need to move into that direction. So that when you said that, that's what it made me think about. It's like, yes, we're in community, want to disciple each other, but people need to get to a point where they can be a supply to the community and not always drain to the community.
Let's get ready to read that. That is such a good one.
Yes.
Go ahead and read it.
Loving honesty, from trusted community has helped me to look internally, which ultimately helped me to grow with the Lord and with my spouse. That's Miss Dahlia.
Amen.
Yes.
Can we say that it's really learning how to fellowship with one another?
Yeah.
Because for so many years, my wife and I talk about this a lot. For so many years, we've had fellowship around the wrong things. When we come into the local church or we come into Christ, we often leave communities because we see from the scriptures that we can't do that anymore.
Right.
Over here in this life, and we're like, okay, I'm used to having fellowship, but it's fellowship around the wrong things.
Right.
Learn how to fellowship around godly things, and that makes that even more important. And sometimes, like the person said earlier, you can feel isolated. So just a thought on fellowship.
No.
Yes.
And I would say, you said there's purpose in the community. One of the scriptures that me and Catherine really live off of is Philippians 1:9-11, where Paul is talking to the community in Philippi, and he's talking with them not only how to love much, but how to love well. And the purpose behind the love of people, because it says that you need to use your head and test your feelings so that your love is sincere and intelligent, not sentimental gush. Live a lover's life, not just from a husband and wife, but live a lover's life, circumspect and exemplary, a life Jesus will be proud of, bountiful in fruits from the soul, making Jesus Christ attractive to all, getting everyone involved in the glory and praise of God. So I know whenever we're around you all, we know that he is going to be lifted up. We know that. And that's life-giving.
Yeah. That's an actual prayer.
Right? I know. It is. This is my prayer.
Yeah. He says, I pray that. So that would be a good prayer to pray for community, because in the Amplified Classic, it says that I pray that your love would abound more and more, and that you would learn to sense what is vital.
Yes.
So that is a great prayer, because you need to pray about, who do I connect with? Who, even in a local church, who do I connect with? How do I grow? And I just think people really need to understand that we need each other.
Yeah.
And there's value that we bring when we come together. There is a supply of encouragement and inspiration from the Holy Ghost when we come together around the right things. Like y'all said earlier, this is not a gossip. This is not to spread information. If you're not about moving forward in your marriage, if you're not about this word and how we can apply it, then we should protect the community like that. And Paul told the Corinthian church, listen, don't fellowship with a brother that's a fornicator, that's doing all these other things. He said, don't even have lunch with him.
And you know it.
He said it. And some people like, man, for real? Yeah. So that's him protecting that community. At the same time, he told them that in the same letter, if someone's overtaken with a fault, you that's mature, you can restore them. Don't let them be overtaken with much sorrow. Once you seen they repented, don't sit out there and leave them hanging by themselves. I'm paraphrasing it, but we need to be mindful of that. There's nothing wrong with protecting the community. And if you want to call me judgmental for protecting a community where people can be vulnerable, then call me judgmental. I'm going to exercise judgment, because part of that judgment is being able to make decisions that protect based on what you know and handle in the word. So
that makes me think about, when we talk about tools people that could use to develop their marriage, their community, whether it's going to conferences or it's going to, a session or whatever you have. I'm very protective in that space, even with like when I take people out, ladies or whatever, from my church, because I don't want to be in an environment where you spend 35 minutes telling me what went wrong and then 5 minutes of how the Lord brought you out. It's not a good environment. I'm not going to go to a conference where I'm going to hear 45 minutes of what happened in 5 minutes of how God brought you out. It's like you have to be careful about things like that. And so, when we talk about giving people tools and things like that, it's like, hey, if it's on video, watch what happened last year, because you don't want to go somewhere where you're supposed to get refreshed and and you're drained because you sat through all of the mess before they even told you how God brought you out. So, you have to be careful with
Alvin.
That's my Calvin look.
I know.
we have to be careful about those things because what we're trying to do is help people build their marriage. And I
Yes.
understand that people have challenges and go through challenges, but give me a snippet, give me a synopsis, give me the cliff notes of the bad, and spend the rest of that time walking me through systematically how God brought you
That's
out.
so good.
Because that's what I need.
That's good. That's good.
So if that's not what you offering, then I don't.
But here, that reminds me then, Victoria, we don't want to give the enemy or Satan so much credit and so much authority
That's
Yep.
exactly what I'm
over our lives. It's like,
Yep.
no, you are the small piece, but
Mhm.
here's God, the big piece.
Here's the
Yeah.
big.
We're going to spend our time glorifying him, thanking him, for giving us the victory over that particular situation.
Yeah.
Love that.
Could I add this? What she's talking about is how do we walk through the process?
Mm.
Because so many people know where they want to go, they know where they are, but the development, how do you develop?
Mm.
How do you stay with the process until you let that word and patience have its perfect work and fully
Come
develop?
on.
Right.
That's where
Come
people.
on.
So if we could spend, when we're gathering together, if we could spend most of our time, how do you get up and make your faith confessions every day when you don't feel nothing?
That's it.
When it's boring,
Mhm.
when it look like it ain't changing and it don't feel so good.
Exactly.
What do you do?
Exactly.
What do you do in that time? You get up and say it anyway.
You
Because
do.
it's
Say it.
beneath the ground.
Yes.
And even though you can't
Yes.
see it, it's still germinating.
Yep.
If
Mm.
you don't dig it up, it'll grow and produce fruit. And I
Yep.
think so many people they get excited about what could be, and they glorify what has been, but nobody puts any attention on you need to be skillful and love this process of development so that you live out what's already on the inside of you.
Right. That
Right.
consistency and that discipline. Even when you tired.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Tirade.
When you tired.
When you tired, you still gotta go.
Yes, man. Y'all preaching tonight on that.
That's good, Albert.
Listen, okay, I want to put up what Cherie had said about how community has helped her over the last 30 years growing both spiritually and naturally, and to be vulnerable without judgment, to cry and rejoice
That's
and bring
awesome.
correction.
And bring correction. That's what a lot of people don't want, though.
Yes.
That's a great community. If they
So
bring
you got good community if they can not only bring it, but you receive it.
Yeah,
Come on.
that's awesome.
Give it
Yep.
up. For
Yeah.
Can
sure.
I share a little thought about correction?
Yes.
Absolutely.
My wife says almost an hour.
It is. I know. We're getting ready to go. We're getting ready
Sometimes
to go.
people mistaken correction for punishment.
Yeah.
They're two different things.
Mhm.
Punishment is judgment for wrongdoing. It's the consequence of wrongdoing. Correction is taking out what's wrong and replacing it with what's right, so you don't have to experience punishment.
Mhm.
And so if people
Ooh.
would receive correction as someone trying to keep them from having punishment
Right.
or judgment, they'd be more open to correction.
Yes. Mic drop.
Oh,
I
you're
love
right there.
That's what I was going to say too, Calvin. Mic drop.
Right there. Right there.
Wow.
Wow. Well, I think that shuts it down right
That's
there.
good, right
Yep.
Well, let me just say thank y'all for taking over the popcorn conversation.
It's gonna take over.
And listen, I can't wait to see and hear the beginning because we missed that part. Because they snuck in here, y'all, and took over our popcorn conversation. But it was good. That's what community does. This is a great way to see it as an example of how community can help each other out. So we appreciate y'all. Appreciate the Parkers from True Word Christian Center. Yes, in Tennessee, and then Black Diamond Marriages in
Black
Virginia.
Yeah.
Woo, Elva.
All right, right. Well, we are probably not going to be doing popcorn conversation as far as pulling from the popcorn machine, because May is Mental Wellness Month, and we are going to be looking to speak with some professionals in that area to help our community along the way.
Good idea.
Yeah. So expect to see some of that come to life. We want to hit some of those top topics that are happening in our community to help people along the way.
Awesome.
But Carlos, what you got?
I love y'all. I love everybody that's viewing, and even those who are just kind of coming in and coming out. I love you all. Thank you all so much. These are my people.
So until we meet next time, you know what you guys need to do. You need to get
Power
up.
Yes.
Stay right there, right there. Love you guys. Love you all.